This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Always follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino here on a busy Friday afternoon. Big program lined up. We do have one-day baseball game starting in about 35 minutes. Game 2, series in the Bay Area, Giants and the Yankees. We'll touch on that. More Sweet 16 games to get into. Elite 8 games tomorrow. There is a possible 7-leg tanking parlay to get involved with tonight in the NBA.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
Get in it.
Victor Wembanyama is currently dropping like a rock to win the NBA MVP. This is all happening in real time. Plus, we have Richie Baccellieri in 30 minutes, Greg Peterson coming up in 90, and Bruce Marshall all on college basketball. Tiger Woods also, not that long ago, involved in a rollover accident. Details have not really come out yet. We'll update you as I haven't seen anything yet. Have you?
I guess everyone's okay.
That's okay.
He doesn't have a driver?
How is that possible at this point after
Right.
what happened to him a handful of years ago?
Yes.
Well, let's hope. Fingers are crossed that this one goes a lot better than the last time that he was involved in a major accident.
Yeah.
So there is that. Keep an eye on that. If there's any updates, obviously, that's coming up. All right, so last night, Paul, I picked Arizona to win the national title, the bracket contest here at VSiN. That was my team. I thought these ones were going to, absolutely populate the board for the Final Four as well. Florida goes down, but we still have 3 number 1 seeds alive. Was that all about Arizona last night? All about Arkansas's bad defense? Or was that a combination of both?
I would say combo of both,
That-
which we talked about all week. Defense is optional with Arkansas, the worst beating Calipari's had in the big dance, and they are just scary offensively, right? And we also commented about how they get the easy baskets and go to the free throw line.
Boy, it was happening over and over and over last night.
Could have scored 120 if they wanted to. So I'm hoping for Michigan, Arizona. I think it'd be fantastic. But this is a freight train, no doubt about it. And I feel good for Lloyd. He had to have that one. Arizona Nation took over. They were all over the place in the building. They did an excellent job, and this is a heck of a team, as we talked about and documented their resume, what they did in the non-con and that stretch. This is before the Saunders injury, where they were playing 6 out of 7 games against top 20 and top 15 competition, and they went 32-2. So it's right there for them. Talented team, and I hope they keep winning and take out Purdue. They're fun to watch.
I sent out a couple of tweets during the game. It's hard to fathom a team as talented as Arkansas getting absolutely manhandled and being completely overmatched on the court. And that's exactly what happened. Like, Arkansas they're talented to the moon, right? They had absolutely no answer for an Arizona team that was just better pretty much everywhere. And people were getting back to me on X saying, hey, man, their defense is so terrible. But I'm like, here's the thing. If you're watching the game, they're actually trying on defense. Now, there's a difference here between, are they well coached on defense? Are they actually good and efficient on defense? Do they know what they're doing? Probably not. But the effort was there last night defensively. It didn't matter. In the first half, Arizona had 36 possessions. They scored 25 times, 1.5 points per possession. They scored 69.4% of the time. Mm-hmm. They led for 19 minutes and 33 seconds. They hit 5 threes the entire game. They scored 109 points. Now, does that happen again moving forward? Maybe not, but I would not want to be Purdue on a short turnaround to prepare for this team at all.
Well, they're not invincible. I mean, Utah State was down 4 late. So when I think
nobody's invincible.
Yeah, Utah State's a pretty good team, but certainly shouldn't be on their level. But that's right. They had that down to 4 late before Arizona made all the plays down the stretch. So Purdue has to do a better job. Purdue was fortunate to get the win, and you're right now with the short turnaround here that it should favor Arizona, and Arizona get to the Final Four.
This show is brought to you by ProfitX, and right now you can win a free trip worth up to $10,000 during March Madness with King of March. Use the code VSINMM. So I did finally make a bet on the St. John's Duke game today. All week I've been contemplating taking the 7 with the Johnnies. I didn't do that. But do you see this? They're playing games today with the total. Because it came down to like 141, then back to 142.5. And when it touched 142.5 today, I did bet the under. 2 top 5 to 10 defenses in the entire country. Like 3 or 4 really like athletic and good big guys on this team. Now, we are evidently going to get Foster for Duke. But what does that mean 3 weeks after surgery? Like, how many minutes does he play?
It's huge. It's enormous.
Is he 70%? Is he, like, close to 100%? Like, what over? I can't imagine he's, like, fully healthy, though, right?
That doesn't matter. I think it's just to have the leadership, and even if he give you 10 minutes, it's a big, right? And this is also the sweet spot. Last 2 years in Sweet 16 or later, favorites of 6 points or more are 53-6 straight up. So you had a couple games that qualify tonight. It's going to come down to, can St. John's knock down shots? And is Duke going to back off them, play soft, and say, there it is, good luck, take it? 192 in the country from 3, 218th inside the arc. So whether it's Bells trying to knock something down, as he on that 0 for 16 run from outside, if they're knocking down shots, they're scary because of how they guard you. But one loss since January 3rd, shouldn't be a 5 seed. Here at Circa, they were 12-1 to win the region. I think it's a fantastic ticket. It's good. These games are going to be awesome. Those 2 games in that region, and I hope St. John's can keep it competitive and be right there. But this is tough to gauge. Where what does he give you? You're right, but also the issues Duke has had since the injury. Now you get the center back earlier in the tournament, which was big, but you saw what happened against Florida State. Went through the motions against Clemson, even though they covered, and then Sienna's got you down with 5 minutes left, and then that bizarre game against TCU, when they were getting beaten and ran them out, and they were awesome in the last 13 minutes of the game. But I want to favor Pitino in this matchup. It's a very good team, and certainly how well they're playing and what they did to destroy UConn a couple times. And I think they can hang here. But as you said on Monday, it just seems like a fishy line. That if Richie Bachelari, who's on in 20 minutes, says it's 3.5, why is it 7?
I know. So I will point this out. Alan Boston, who I love listening to him more than anybody else on the sport. We've known him for a long time. He's been a career-long college basketball handicapper. I listened to his podcast this week. He made this number 5.5. But he did point out, and this is one of my biggest concerns as well, like how friendly will the whistle be towards Duke? Right?
I don't think it happens.
Okay,
I
hope
think
you're right.
Pitino's got enough cachet and to be one of the greatest coaches ever and awesome at working the officials. I don't think you'll see a crazy whistle.
And here's what I think, based on also how much respect I have for Pitino overall as a head coach. They've had all this time now to prepare for Duke. I expect this team to come out after the opening tip and try to set the tone, much like they did against UConn in the Big East title game. And after that was over with Monday on the show here on the network, I'm like, they came out and made it a football game from the start, and we're like, come on, guys, let's go. We're gonna make this bloody. Can you match us? And UConn didn't, and St. John's blew them out. Now, I don't know if they can blow them out or not, but they have men on this team and guys who are big athletes on the court who are also good at what they do. And I think the message from Pitino is going to be similar to that. They're also top 40 in 2-point % defense allowed, and they're top 20 near the goal. A couple of things from the Kansas game. So I don't know how much we take away from the first 2 from either one of these teams, right? Because you could point to the Duke struggles the entire time. What does that mean for tonight? It might be big, but they're getting Foster back.
Well, you certainly back off Bells until he hits something.
I would agree. Now, what would we be saying about St. John's, and what would the number be if they didn't blow the 14-point lead against Kansas? Does this number open up 6.5?
Yeah.
Does it move to 7 right away? Like if they sustain that lead and they eventually beat a decent Kansas team by like 14, 15 points, it might not be that high. But also on the flip side, what if Hopkins doesn't make 6 threes in that game? Because the rest of the team combined, I think they were 5 of 24. Mm-hmm. Do they lose? Do they blow the lead completely and they're out of the tournament? And I was reading up on this today as well. Another reason why I finally bet the under on it. It's going to be a half-court game pretty much the entire time, and the Johnnies are going to probably try to get out and run a little bit. Duke will not allow that. Duke limited Virginia, Clemson, North Carolina, Michigan, and others to like either their second or their least amount of possessions in the entire year. And that's where I think it turns into half-court, slower, even though the Johnnies will probably want to get it going with their full-court press and speed Duke up. I don't think Duke is going to fall for it. I think they're too disciplined to make that happen, especially if we get a somewhat healthy Foster back tonight.
30 points each team, each half, plus money?
Well, I don't want to bet that because I bet the under. So I'm hoping this game is played
like
in the 50s.
Yep. Each team to score 65 points, $1.50. Each team to get 70, plus 155. St. John's to go on a 10-0 run, plus 240. Duke is plus 115. Hey, anything's possible after what we watched last night.
I know.
Illinois goes on a 17-0 run, and then Nebraska's down big, or up big rather, and Iowa comes back. And what happened down the stretch? So this is a great market. And this is good stuff here about what can happen and transpire from a total standpoint, because you could have fireworks in an Alabama game too.
Oh, no question. Now, you have a bet on Sparty already, yeah?
Yeah.
You took the 2?
I'm going against a guy who's on a 15-1 run ATS in the tournament, but I just think
you also have
think
Izzo in
Michigan-
your corner, though.
Yeah, I love Izzo, and I think Michigan State's better. And I love how they played offensively in this tournament. And as I mentioned earlier, running through their resume, good body of work this year, tough schedule, only one bad loss. It comes down to what UConn team are you going to get. And it will be interesting, like both coaches were calling for, and especially Hurley, if you're going to have the Big East fans rooting for one another, that we get St. John's UConn for the 4th time and to go to the Final Four.
Right.
You know, that'd be great.
No, I'd say that Terrace Reed has been awesome in the tournament, had those 27 rebounds in the first game. Caravan played incredibly well against UCLA. The thing is, Michigan State's not going to get, outdone on the glass. And that should probably give them enough chances to maybe stay in this game.
Yeah.
And like most games nowadays, it'll probably come down to 3-point shooting. And if UConn's having a good day from outside, that might be enough. If not, then I think Sparty probably walks out of here with a victory. Did you do anything with the props on 25 each half, 30 each half here?
This could be a higher scoring game, don't you think?
We got, 136 or so?
It's come down 6 points. It did get to 134. Then it's come back up. But, yeah, open like 140 in that range. The UConn game, rather. But it's 75 points each team in the UConn game is plus 550. I think that could happen.
We have Yankees-Giants beginning Game 2 of their series opening in about 20 minutes. We'll get to that. More on tonight's college basketball game coming up next. And I'll give you some Opta AI stats on that baseball game. They have strong opinions on both starting pitchers.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Love our visits with longtime Vegas odds maker Richie Baccellieri, who is a big hit every time that he's on. We get tons of reaction on email and also Twitter. And Rob Blowing Smoke, good to see you again. How are you, pal?
Guys, it's always good to be here with my favorite degenerates. Yet, don't get me wrong, you guys are degenerates. Let everybody know it.
Yeah, we're aware.
All right.
We know what the meaning now
That's
of that
why I
word
like
is.
you.
And by the way, we get this every time that you're on, specifically, and I've asked you before, but can you tell the audience exactly where you're from originally?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Because people think they can't tell, with your voice and your accent. They're like, is it Baltimore? Is it Philadelphia? Is it somewhere in New York?
No. Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
Okay. So when we were asking you to make some projected lines in the Sweet 16 last week when you were on, and I threw a possible Duke St. John's game at you, and I said, what do you think? Is it 5? And you're like, mate, 3.5? It opened up 6.5, immediately went to 7. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought it would be about 3.5, but I forgot that the big kid, Gongba, he played, so he's worth another point or so the number. So I ended up with 4.5 on the game. 7's just insane. John's is hot. The Duke, they beat Virginia by 4. They struggled with Siena. I guess they had a little bit of a gift with the refs. I watched some of that game and the TCU game.
Yeah.
A little bit of a gift. I don't know. Now they're saying the kid's coming back tonight, the Caleb, whatever, Foster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that kind of, to me, throws off some chemistry now with the other Boozer playing. I don't know. I think he takes 7. Or you pass. Only side I can have.
Will they get a friendly whistle?
No,
Or is it the respect for Patino?
It's in the pocket when they're on D, Duke. Referees put the whistle in their pocket. They don't blow nothing.
Okay. All right.
Great. The coaching matchups are great. And, the slate tonight's unbelievable. This is what the organization, the NCAA's wanted, and they got it. I mean, look at these matchups. All these SEC schools and Big Ten schools. I mean, I much prefer to see when the dark horse is Iowa, I
Yeah.
mean, NCAA wins.
Yeah. Overall, what do you think of Pitino, his career, and where would you like? Is he one of the best in your opinion, or are you just?
Probably not. I don't think he's really a full X's and O's guy. Maybe early on, but recruiter in the name, he gets the players. I mean, Johns ain't done this well in 25 years or so. I think the other guy is much more of a get him in the huddle and call out a play. But I don't see that often anymore.
What do you think of McCollum?
Oh, he's fantastic. I remember last year when he took over for DeVries, I think, at Drake. I was like, who is this guy? He's bringing up all these
They hated it. They're like, what are you doing? We're not going to win with D2. The Drake fans were pissed.
Was some north and western Missouri or something. And, man, they knocked it out of the park. And now he's knocking it out of the park again. He went toe-to-toe with the other guy from Florida, right? It was fantastic. He's a great story. He looks like he's a dynamite coach. I think they're going to give the Illini, everything they want now.
You take the points?
Take it. Was it like 4 or 5? 5?
That's 7.
7.
Illinois 7.
I'm in another world. 7? Yeah, you're right. It's 7. I made it 5.5.
Okay.
I'll take 7.
By the way, did you guys notice this last night watching the game? Mm-hmm. I mean, all of his players, seemingly like in the biggest spots of the game, they are always in the right spot. That's just the way it felt watching the game against Nebraska. God, it was awesome.
He was livid at the first TV timeout. He was like, we're not doing it right. Am I overreacting? Like, if Donovan says no to Carolina, would you call this guy? They hadn't been in the Elite Eight since 1987. He, bam, comes right in.
I give this guy a chance, or basically any coach that's hungry, that's winning programs in the lesser levels. Why not? Why not give the guys a shot? They win with little talent. They move up and they just keep winning. I mean, he's not the first. I'm sure there's a long line of guys come from, D2 or assistant coaches at mid-majors. Look, it wasn't too long ago the guy from Bama was coaching smaller schools, and he's a monster now. Give the guys a chance, get rid of the names, but there are some great coaches in this tournament. There's no doubt. I thought that the kid from Michigan, this Dusty May. Mm-hmm. I looked at his record the last 4 years. The guy's won 120 games in 4 years. Then I looked at the Arizona guy, 6 years, like 140. I mean, it's amazing programs. But I'd rather see Wright State against High Point in the Final Four. But that may never happen again.
Michigan State, UConn open 140. It's down to 134.5. Why do you like the over?
Well, I like the fact that, first off, it's definitely anytime I'm looking at an over, it feels such a square play. But Michigan State can push a little tempo.
Yeah.
They play a lot of overs, and they play a lot of overs when the total's 147, let alone 135. So I don't know. It's square. There's no doubt about it. I'm against probably the sharpest guys betting it under, but I can't find much to play, so every now and then I pull a little degeneracy out of my pocket, and I got to get down. So.
What's the number if it's UConn St. John's to go to the Final Four?
UConn and St. John. Oh, that's the next matchup, huh? I guess it's UConn a couple of points.
No.
Yeah.
They're going to beat Duke and be an underdog after they just kicked their ass?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, they just played. It was like 2.5, 3 neutral, right? I mean, the ratings don't change. The team don't change just because you beat somebody. It don't change. The number's the number.
Okay. I'm not going to get a bump from beating Duke?
A bump. You could bet it. You could bet it that way, but it's not going to get posted that way.
Is that
No, I said Johnny's. I thought it'd be Pick or Johnny Small.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of basketball tonight to see if that happens.
Yeah, because I'm with Paul. Like, if they beat Duke tonight, that, I think, will have a big impact on what could potentially happen after that. But who knows?
Who's Paul?
Paulie.
Paulie.
Sorry.
I got confused for a minute.
How about the other games tonight that we have then? Alabama is it's like, are they going to hit 25 threes in the game tonight? Well, then they can win. But if they don't, they're not going to get much at the rim, I don't think, because Michigan's so good at defending the rim. And this total is 172.5, one of the highest of all time in the tourney.
Yeah, Michigan is very, very good inside the paint, and Alabama just has a hard time defending that. I looked at some of the scores against teams that played down low. and they give up 100 points a game. So I don't know. It's once again, I'm not really interested in the over, but I don't think I can ever think about an under in this matchup.
Okay.
I think I think Michigan, they struggled for about 10 or 12 minutes in the Howard game, and they've been lights out since.
Mm-hmm. Yes. How about Tennessee, Iowa State? The status of Jefferson up in the air.
Yeah, well, that makes a difference. It makes a difference tonight to me. I think one of the previous games with Iowa State, I didn't think he meant a whole lot.
Against Kentucky?
I don't know. They play St. Louis. I don't know. Yeah, against.
Yeah, they just killed Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. Didn't think it meant a lot, but I think it means something here. I don't know if he's playing or not, but he's worth a point to the number.
So if I told you right now that he's not going to play, would you take Tennessee plus 4.5?
Probably. They're big. They're big. They got like 3, trees down low. I think it's gonna cost them without Jefferson tonight.
What did you make the number?
2.5. 2.5 with him out.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm seeing 3.5 or 4, right?
And then tomorrow, you said you think that Iowa would be worth a play at plus 7.
Yeah, I would take 7. I think Illinois off the Houston win. Once again, I think, like Paul was saying, they got a little bump up, beating Houston like they, last night.
And it was impressive.
So it's a bump up from Paul, and I don't believe in bump ups. The team's the team at this point. My good friend Alan Boston, don't talk to me no more. Alan, call me, please. He would feel the same way. The team don't get any better.
No.
The team's the team at this point.
He went off on Crack's podcast about buying points. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a great topic of conversation, and I think when you talk about buying points, I think there's different ways that you buy points. Buying point on a Stone Cold 6 game that you made 6, it ain't worth the 10 cents. But Alan's point of view, and I believe in this, and our dear friend Steve Diano, who's really, really sick, Stevie, hang in there, buddy, also believes the same way. If you made a game 2 and the game's 5 or 5.5, if you buy the 6 at that point, you're doing it for a few reasons. One, you're 4 points off of your number, so 10 cents might be worth something. Okay? If the game closes 4 and you spend 10 cents from 5.5 to 6, it's not the worst thing in the world. And these games can come close to the number. I watched it all year long. There's so many games, X percentage of games in the last few minutes, within a bucket of the number.
All the time.
So I'm all for it under certain circumstances if you could spend 10 cents. Now, I see books charging 11 and 12 cents for half points. So what are they thinking? Why are they charging more if it's not worth it? And I think the only reason is if you buy the point early, the game moves 2 points. So you spent a half a point, 10 cents for a half a point, 2.5 points off the number.
Very good. Awesome answer. Thanks, Richie. Good luck tonight. Enjoy the games.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Richie Bacciolari. Win-lose up next. Paulie has details on a 22-1 ticket that cashed during the Illinois win.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
College Hoops here. As Greg Hoops Peterson joins the program, we go out to the Progressive Guest Line. He is the host of the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast at the VSiN network of podcasts. Hoops, good to talk to you, my man. Let's begin with the early game that we have tonight, 7:10 p.m. Eastern tip time in Washington, D.C. The game, I'm a little surprised they didn't make this a late game.
I'm shocked.
Right? I mean, this is the game.
Yeah.
This game is the absolute nuts. What did you make the number here, side in total, and how have you approached it from a betting standpoint?
Yep, absolutely. And if you're talking about that St. John's game, I do think that St. John's has quite a bit of value here. I did make them a 5.5 point underdog, so I did get there with the points. Couldn't quite get there on the money line with St. John's, but That said, this is a bunch that has been able to do a tremendous job on defense. Top 10 team in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. I know that there are some rumors that Caleb Foster might try to give it a go here for Duke, but if he does, what is he really going to be able to give you? Because they did get back Patrick Ngongba in the last game. He was able to give them like 13 minutes off the bench. Clearly not 100%, but was able to give them a little bit of something. And Duke still rock solid on defense. They've been number one in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. That said, the offense has really struggled without Foster. In the 5 games since he's been gone, they've been shooting 44.3% from the floor, 30% from three, and you're getting 7 points here with Rick Pitino. In some cases, 6.5. Took the points with St. John's and that under.
All right, sounds good. The late game, I think we're on the same page here. Sparty opened the favorite. Now they're underdogs, and they've bombed this total under as well. 27-7 against 31-5. I like Izzo here in Michigan State. They average 80 a game. They've been awesome so far offensively in the tournament. What say you?
Yep, I am right there on Michigan State on the money line. Being able to get plus money on Tom Izzo is something that I very much am going to take. With Michigan State, they've also been so good with their shooting away from home. They actually only shoot 32.7% from three-point range at home compared to over 40% away from home. I know that like a month or two ago, Luka Garza came out and said that there's a little bit of a conspiracy with like the Breslin Center rims and something like that, where it's harder for teams to be able to make threes in the second half and everything like that. I'm starting to become a little bit of a subscriber with the way that Michigan State has shot from three-point range away from home, but also for UConn. They're still dealing with the Silas Demery injury. He was able to come in off the bench, looked okay in that game against UCLA, but clearly not quite 100% there. And for UConn, they just have not covered spreads this year. 13-23 against the spread. They just have been a little bit overvalued all season long. Michigan State, number one in terms of defensive rebound percentage away from them. Think that they get the job done. So took Michigan State here on the money line.
Which team here, if you're right, but if UConn, whatever, flip a coin, moving forward against Duke in the Elite Eight, which one of these two teams do you think has the best chance, forget the point spread for a second, but the best chance to beat Duke if, in fact, the Dukies beat St. John's tonight?
I would still go with Michigan State.
Okay.
Their ability on the defensive glass, I think, is absolutely massive. And I keep in mind, this will be a rematch of when Zion Williamson went up against Michigan State way back in the day. Obviously, much different now because Coach K was coaching back then. Now you got John Shire. But still, Tom Izzo knows how to be able to play against Duke. And this would be a rematch of something that we saw in the regular season. If you remember, that game was an almighty slog. Neither team got past 65 points. Michigan State, they lose by a possession at home. So Michigan State can clearly hang with these guys. So I'd go with Michigan State.
Mitch asked me earlier, I think he's onto something. Can Michigan do to Alabama what Arizona did to Arkansas?
I don't know if they're quite putting up like 110 plus points, but I think that this is a game where you might want to be taking a look at an alternate line. Like Alabama has a chance to be able to win this game outright. They take 53.7% of their field goal attempts from 3-point range. If they're burying their threes, they have a chance to be able to win. If they are not burying their threes, boy, this is going to be a long night for them. Now, I personally did land on the side of taking 9 with Alabama just because of the volatility. But that said, I do think that you're going to be able to get yourself a high-scoring game like that total of 172.5. I think that that's a very proper total right now. And for Alabama, they do have Aiden Holloway who's able to travel. He will not be playing with the team. They shut down those rumors. But that said, you still have LeBaron Filan, who's able to give you 21.5 points per game. It is an Alabama team that they actually do an okay job on the inside. Top 30 team in opponent's 2-point shooting percentage away from home. As we know, Michigan, their bread is buttered on the inside with Yaxel Lendeborg, Ade Mera, along with as well another guy, Morris Johnson, who will give you at least 6.5 rebounds per game. But I think Alabama does just enough to hold in there. I'm willing to take 9 with them.
How concerned are you? Okay, I think this is going to come down, obviously, Captain Obvious checking in, but they're going to take a lot of threes. If they hit a lot of threes, they're going to be in the game with a chance to win. I'm a little concerned because Oates' system is either basically at the rim or you're taking threes. Nothing from the mid-range. Michigan is, top tier against guarding the rim defensively. Does that concern you at all?
It does. And that's a big reason why I do think that this could be a game where you take like an alternate line. Like if you like Alabama, I don't think that this is going to be coming down to, they covered the spread because they lost by 8 or something like that. They're probably going to be in a 1 or 2 possession game if they're burying their threes. If they are not burying their threes, they could easily lose this game by 20 plus points. So that's a big reason why I think that if you are looking at like a game where you might want to try to get some plus money on an alternate line, this is a textbook game right here because of just the way that Alabama plays in general.
What are you hearing on Jefferson And how are you handicapping this Tennessee-Iowa State game?
If Jefferson is able to go, he is going to be very, very far from 100%. I know a few people out there in the great state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the rumors out there are that it's a pretty serious injury. Obviously not a complete break or anything like that, but if he's able to go, it's going to be very limited. If you remember Dean Wade many years ago for Kansas State, and the way that he was like a decoy in that Sweet 16 game for Kansas State where he played 2 or 3 minutes, you could tell that he was hobbling out there. I think it could be a little bit akin to that. So I did take the 4 here with Tennessee. I don't necessarily like the money line here, but that said, for Iowa State, the one thing that they still have going for them, even with the Jefferson injury, is that they're still so good at generating turnovers. Top 5 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. Tennessee, they're going to have the advantage inside. They are number 1 in the country in percentage of their missed shots that result in an offensive rebound. So that really helps them out. But with Iowa State, their ability to generate turnovers, even with a much less than 100% Jefferson, if they have them at all, I think that that's enough for them to avoid the upset. But getting 4.5 with Tennessee, I did take the points as Iowa State. Keep in mind, if they need to cover at the free throw line, outside the top 315 with their free throw shooting percentage, they have not been good there.
Greg, I want you to think about this for 1 second because I'm going to throw Paulie a question when I'm done. But if you can, think about what you would make Michigan, Arizona if they meet in the Final Four. In the meantime, what did I say the North Carolina women were to win the first quarter? Weren't they? Was it 16-1?
8.5. Well, you said the point
spread
was
8.5 in the first.
What do you got?
They lead 12-11 end of the first quarter.
Oh my God!
So the huge money line number, I think it was 16-1 to win the first half. Whatever it was to win the first quarter, it's a
son of a gun. Got to respect your opponent. Yeah. Well, the first to 10 was plus 450, I think you said, too, as well. Greg, am I overreacting? You want to ask him the Michigan question?
What would you make that game?
I would be leaning towards Arizona being 2.5 point favorites, I think, is a very fair line. With Michigan, they do such a good job down low, but I just think Arizona is right now the most balanced team in the NCAA tournament. Top 10 team in terms of both points scored and points allowed on a per possession basis. We saw them against an Arkansas team that had arguably the best player remaining in the NCAA tournament, completely buried them. And for Michigan, I feel like they've gotten their swagger back after they were a little bit shaky in late February, early March in the Big Ten tournament, but I'd be making that line right now. Arizona, a 2.5 point favorite.
Okay, give me your thoughts on Iowa, Illinois, and if Donovan says no to Carolina, would you call and ask for McCollum?
Oh, I absolutely would be asking for Ben McCollum. I think that he's a top 5 coach in the game. A lot of people want to have it as a knock that it's he hasn't done a lot at the Division I level. Winning is winning. What he did at the Division II ranks is insane. What we're seeing right now, taking an Iowa program that hadn't been to the Elite Eight since the 80s, is insane as well. So he is one of the best coaches in the game. Absolutely, I'd be giving him a call. And I do like the 7 here with Iowa. Keep in mind, they were going up against a team in Florida that was so dominant on glass, and it's a little bit, shall we say, similar to this situation where Illinois, they're very good in terms of being up at the boards with David Mirkovich and company, the Avicic brothers. But for Iowa, they do such a good job with regards to generating turnovers. Top 20 team in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. They value the ball. Top 30 team in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. Great balance because even though they don't grab for themselves second and third chances, they don't give your opponents a lot of second and third chances as well. So personally, I'm taking the 7 here with Iowa. That total of 137 as well. I set my total more around 139. I do like the over.
All right, Greg, about 30 seconds here. You also do the baseball write-ups as well at vsin.com, tracking that sport the entire year. Do you have a best bet on the card tonight?
I do like the Atlanta Braves here. Chris Sale, in the limited sample size that we saw from him last year, was absolutely amazing. And for the Royals, do I think that they're going to be better on offense this year? Absolutely, because they were absolutely atrocious last year. But I still need to see it to believe it with them. Right now, the Braves are about minus 137 on the money line. Felt like this should have been north of minus 160. So give me Chris Sale and the Atlanta Braves on the money line, as I think that they'll bounce back with their offense after all those injuries last season as well.
All right, G-Unit, thank you, man. We appreciate it. Enjoy the games tonight and this weekend.
Always appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Best of luck. Coast to Coast Hoops Podcast. He's the host of it. But you're not going to believe this update on North Carolina UConn game, women's. And
I have an update for you. You won't believe either.
Okay. Can I top your update? Can't wait to find out. And we'll dive more into these college basketball Sweet 16 matchups coming up next.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Follow the Money is brought to you by ProfitX. Right now, King of March is giving you a shot at free trips worth up to $10,000 just for betting the tournament. Download the ProfitX app and use the code VSiNMM. We'll begin the hour talking college basketball in the Sweet 16. The biggest of big boys is tipping off in an hour and 10 minutes. That's St. John's and Duke. And we go out, again, progressive guest line here. Bruce Marshall joins the program, longtime college basketball handicapper and bettor with Wager Talk and Gold Sheet. All right, Bruce, overall, you've had 5 days basically to think about this number. Duke at 7. They're a 7-point favorite here at Circa. A little bit of juice if you want St. John's. Total is now down to 140.5. What do you make of this game?
Mitch, I've been riding underdogs all the way through the Sweet 16. I'm going to stick with it here. Although I've had to kind of overcome the vision in my mind. I watched that game where St. John's didn't hit a shot, against UConn. I went 0 for 24. To get that out of my mind has been kind of difficult. But you got to figure. I mean, Pitino has coached this team. Is not a great shooting team. Mm-hmm. Pitino has coached around that. They've won 21 of 22. And they have hit some triples, at least in the sub-regional. They had at least 10 and 11 in each game, so they are shooting the ball a little bit better. But what Pitino's going to want to do is make this Big East bully ball. That's the way St. John's survives. Now, they're going to want this game played in the 60s like the Kansas game, and I think they might have a shot. Now, Ngongba is going to he'll play more than 13 minutes in this game. That's what he played for Duke on Saturday against TCU, and that's important because it relieves Cam Boozer from playing the 5. And he's not a great rim protector. That's what you have Ngongba for. And I think Boozer's going to be much better if Ngongba plays more. But they still don't have Caleb Foster. They've had some real scraps the last couple of weeks without him. ACC tournament, the Florida State game, they should have lost. The Siena game, they could have lost in the final of the ACC tournament. The Siena game, they were in trouble. I don't think they're going to pull away here tonight. In fact, I think this could be a last-minute, last shot sort of game. And maybe St. John's can win. I'm going to take Pitino plus. And, oh, by the way, 34 years waiting to get back at Duke for that game with, in the Elite Eight.
Yep.
He would. This would be very delicious for him to get some revenge on Christian Laettner and that long pass. So I'm going to take St. John's plus. They have a shot to win, but certainly plus the points. I'll go that way.
You got it. All rise. 2-run shot. Aaron Judge, 2-0 Yankees in the 6th. How about UConn and Michigan State?
Paulie, I think Dan Hurley's got to really thread a needle here. I don't think UConn is what it was 2 and 3 years ago. Now, Terrace Reed can certainly be a handful, and that big 31 and 27 he had against Furman was because they had just nobody big and strong enough to get in his way. But UConn was still in trouble in that game. Furman had a shot, inside of 5 minutes. I thought, God, this could be your actual upset here. And you look at UConn down the stretch. The St. John's Big East tournament game. I don't want to get too carried away by conference tournaments, but I think UConn was actually trying in that game, at least at the start. They lost a game to Marquette late in the season. They lost a game to Creighton. This team walks a very thin line, and if Reed can't be dominant down low, they're going to need one of these other guys. Mullins has been a bit inconsistent. Caravan did play well against UCLA. His best game, 27 points of the season, but I'm not sure he can replicate that again. And Silas Demery's been hurting, playing less than 100% at the point guard spot. Now, the UCLA comparison, I've heard a few people say, hey, UCLA, UConn handled the Bruins by 16 on Sunday, and UCLA beat Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament. And I say, don't worry about that. I don't think Izzo cared losing in the Big Ten tournament. It got his team some extra rest. They had their seed already locked up. I don't think it bothered him one bit. Fears is a great point guard here. He detonates a transition game. There's different ways that Michigan State can hurt you, and they have enough bangers there to keep Reed in some control. I think Izzo wins this one. And, it's been 26 years since a Big Ten team won the national title. I think it's going to be somebody's going to end that this year. Maybe it's Michigan State, but I think they do advance to a Sunday with the win tonight.
Well, not only that, they could have 3 of the 4 Final Four teams, too, the way they're trending.
Yes.
How about Tennessee and Iowa State and Jefferson, a game-time decision?
That's a big one because they could beat Kentucky without Jefferson. I don't know if they can beat these guys without him. First things first, we know about Tennessee never getting to the Final Four. Rick Barnes has been here before. But the Sweet 16, Tennessee has won there before. It's the Elite Eight, where they haven't won in the past. So we can, address that on Sunday if they win tonight and if they can break that jinx. They have won here before in the Sweet 16. Jefferson is very important, very unique weapon for them. But as long as Iowa State, and they get so much based on their pressure defense, and I think Lipsey is very good, and they're an underrated backcourt, and they extend the offense the other way, force turnovers, get points in transition, and that's also where Jefferson helps out coming in from behind. But if Tennessee can just limit the turnovers tonight, they can win this game. First of all, defensively, they have the big guy down low who can act as a rim protector. Iowa State's going to have to shoot very well. Now, they can. Momcilovic is the best three-point shooter in the country, but the further you get in the dance, that's a little bit harder way to go. And second, in Gillespie and in Ament, you have got a couple of guys who can rise to the occasion. We've seen Gillespie do it this year. We know Ament can do it. And the key is if they can limit their turnovers and not get burned in transition the other way by Iowa State, I think Tennessee wins. And the Jefferson thing is big. I mean, even if he plays, I can't believe he's going to be 100%. That looked like a pretty serious ankle thing. So, like I said, they could beat Kentucky without him. I'm not sure they can beat Tennessee without him. I'm going with Rick Barnes.
All right.
We'll see what happens in the Elite Eight.
Bruce Marshall, our guest, longtime college basketball handicapper and bettor. He is with Wager Talk and the Gold Sheet. He's on the Progressive guest line. The other game that we have tonight, Paulie and I have been kicking this around earlier today. It kind of feels like that Arizona-Arkansas game all over again tonight, where Michigan can get whatever they want a lot in this game. What do you think here?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, Mitch. I mean, it does, and I was wrong. That was the one underdog that didn't do it, and Arkansas's defense just was not up to task last night, and they really got burned. Can Michigan do the same thing? It could. But here's my thought on Michigan, that this team has been overvalued in the marketplace since they were out here in Las Vegas in Thanksgiving week in that New Era tournament, when they destroyed San Diego State, and they destroyed Auburn, and they destroyed Gonzaga, and they looked like the best team in the world. And point spreads started to get out of hand with Michigan. Do you know, before the St. Louis game, you guys know this, and that game was competitive midway in the second half, they had dropped 8 of their previous 9 against the spread. In January, Michigan had a 7-game point spread losing streak. They have been consistently overvalued in the marketplace, I think, and it creates a chance, I think, to go against them when you get a number this big. Now, the fundamentals, maybe like you'd say, and I was thinking, like Arkansas, Arizona, it might work against Alabama here, but any team that can hit 19 threes the way they did against Texas Tech, it is pretty much a one-trick pony for Alabama, But if they can do that, they can stay closer. I think Michigan is vulnerable out there in the perimeter. They don't have a lot of length there. I know their front line is great, but I think Alabama has a puncher's chance here. It's asking a lot to win the game, to stay within single digits, within their capabilities. So I'm going to take the Tide plus.
Do you have an opinion on the 2 games tomorrow, with Purdue catching 7-6 and Iowa catching 7?
Boy, I really want to take Iowa because I like the thought. Count Dracula on the sideline there. I mean, he really he's like my favorite. Yeah. He's the new Bob Knight, at least strategy-wise. Illinois, if all the cylinders are firing, is the best team in the country. Ooh. I think. But there's maybe Iowa can, they played them before. Maybe they can slow them down. So I'm a little reluctant to go against McCollum here. I've got so much respect for him.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the other one right now because Arizona looked so good the other night, but I think Arkansas is just complete, inability to do anything on the stop end.
Yeah.
Purdue is going to be more resolute than that. And like we talked off air, they got a break when they didn't call Coffin Wren for pushing off Swain at the end, but they were still in position to win. And they've got this is the experience. I don't think they're going to let this game get away from them. Arizona had some close games recently until even that Utah State game last week, that they haven't blown the other team away. And something tells me Purdue's going to hang around. Maybe not win. They got a chance, though, so I'm maybe leaning with the Boilermakers.
How surprised are you with the Will Wade news that he goes back to LSU after being fired with, he's on tape with the, strong-ass offer comments?
Yeah, because it's LSU, I'm not shocked because I had heard that was happening, and the only places I could see that would do this would be like LSU or Auburn. I was talking to the air guys down in Baton Rouge and Memphis earlier. We can't envision a big school doing this. And I'm trying to think of a time when a school rehired a coach who got fired there because of getting hit by the NC2A. I think this is unprecedented. John Robinson at USC on the football side, but they didn't fire him the first time. He resigned on his own accord, and that was a couple of years after they got hit probation. He came back more than a decade later, then they fired him. But to rehire a guy that you fired because of NC2A hit, this is unique. So in that regard, I am surprised. But the fact that LSU doing it, hey, I guess anything goes. LSU, Auburn, don't surprise me that they would do something like that. They're the only two I can think that would. So I guess I'm not surprised, although it seems unprecedented.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bruce.
All right, Bruce, you're the
Good
best.
luck.
Okay, boys.
Take care. That is bizarre.
I know.
So
it
you
is.
got Kim Mulkey, Lane Kiffin, and Will Wade now.
What a
At
trio.
LSU. No kidding. Stanton went deep as well. 3-0 Yankees, bottom of the sixth.
Back to back? I think it was back to back.
Yeah.
Okay. Second half number, UConn, Carolina. The Lady Huskies lane 16.
They're up 8?
I believe that
It's
is
28-20?
28-20, I think, yeah.
Okay.
So then
What's the money line?
I don't see one in the second half.
Hey, Syracuse hung in there.
I know it.
Played them even.
I know it.
That was also 50, 60-point
Man,
game.
second half total 67 and a half.
32 years in a row, the Lady Huskies have made the Sweet 16.
Oh, man. You know what we have to do? We have to discuss mention markets tonight.
Yeah, Iron Eagle.
We had them
He's
on
aware.
Tuesday. We'll do that coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.